Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making Sheryl's Turkish Delight bracelet featuring our new PieDuo beads. If you need any materials, check the links below to shop with us online. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin our design, we are going to be doing the back of the piece first, and then we're going to be folding it up to encapsulate it with some 6mm disco balls on the top. We're going to begin with our PieDuos, and I have the Pastel Petrol here, as well as our 11O seed beads in two different colors. I have the metallic light bronze and then the matte indigo iris. Both are Miyuki 11O seed beads, along with some 3mm round crystals in the Aqua AB. We're going to begin with 2 needles. So I have 2 needles on one piece of green wildfire beading thread that's about 5 feet long. I have my cup button here, which is going to work as the closure. You can see if you want to and you want to have the closure be a clasp at all, go ahead and add a wire guard instead of the cup button and then proceed with us. On the top of the button, I'm going to add 1 crystal to my thread, and I'm going to add 1 of my darker blue seed beads to each one of my needles. Let those drop down totally to the base of the thread and then put on your cup button. Face down with the bowl down, making sure that you have equal amounts of thread on each side. The crystal will then just sit right in the middle of that bronze cup button, and we're going to turn it back to the side here. Coming out the base, I want you to add 1, 2, and 3 11Os on both the right and the left needle. If you are dominant one hand than the other, you can do a lot with the right first, switching over then the needles in your hand to your right hand as well. From here, we're going to grab 1 of our 11O seed beads in the darker color, that indigo, and I want you to cross through. We're going to be doing this a fair amount through the base of the bracelet and then again at the top. One needle is going to go through the 11O from the right side to the left, and the other is going to go from the left to the right. The thread crosses between the beads, and the bead holes will sit on the horizontal rather than the vertical. This is going to be a nice way to start many of your projects, especially the 2 needle ones that you have the button on. From here, we're going to start getting our nice kind of oval scalloped design while we also add in our PieDuos. As we start the base design, we're basically going to make a track for our bracelet to sit in. You can also see that it is reversible as you're wearing it. You can do the crystals out or crystals in as the PieDuos kind of face down or up. What I'm going to do is build this track for our beads to sit on top of. So what we're going to be doing is adding in some seed beads, creating that X, and I'm going to change up the design just a tiny little bit. So on your right and left needle right now, I want you to add in 2 of your bronze on both the right and the left. Once you have your 2 bronze on, let them drop down next to your button. Again, making sure that you have equal thread on both sides. From here, we're going to add 3 beads of our alternate color. These are going to sit below our PieDuo as we sew back on. There's our 3 beads, let them drop down. Now what we're going to do is create this little cross section. So I want you to do 2 beads of the bronze on the right needle, 2 beads of bronze on the left. We're going to crisscross through 1 of our blue beads and bring in our thread and needle out. Once we pull that down onto the design here, you're going to notice that you have that first little O, or that opening that we're going to connect the PieDuos to. We're going to repeat this over and over again, creating our base. On go, just like this, 2 11s. Now you're going to notice I do a lot with my right hand first. 3 of the blue, 2 11s, and 1 more blue. You can put that needle and thread down then. If it's easier to work with your right hand, take your right hand and repeat the same thing. 2 bronze, 3 blue, 2 bronze, and then instead of grabbing the last one of your blue, you're going to go over to the other piece here, and we're going to crisscross through the blue one that we put on after the bronze. And there's my next loop. Now you want to keep in mind as you're building this and you're figuring out how long to make it, that it does get pulled a tiny bit more into an oval shape rather than into that marquee shape. So you're going to make it a little bit longer than you think you need it to be in order to do the base of the bracelet. Keep going till you get about 7 inches, if you have a 7.5 wrist, till you have about 7 inches of your little O's. Once you have approximately 17 of your little loops created there, I want you to string on one side of your thread, doesn't matter which. We're going to do the loop for the button to sit inside of. So I want you to have 28 seed beads on your thread and needle, and go back into the 11-0 seed bead on the opposite side of whichever your thread is coming out of. So my thread's coming out the right side. I add 28 beads, and then I string from the left back to the right. I'm going to have an opportunity to reinforce this loop, so I'm not going to worry about that too much right now as far as getting another strand through. If you want, you can even see how cute of a simple little bracelet this makes. From here, we're going to add in our quad bows. For our quad bows, I want you to take your thread and needle down, and I want you to come out through the 3rd bead of the navy, that indigo color, on both the right and the left-hand needles. From here, our quad bow is going to sit right above those 3 beads, and we're going to create an arch of seed bead, crystal, seed bead. We're going to be doing that arch with the bronze, the 3mm Aqua, and the bronze again. So coming through here, we're going to go up through our 2nd hole of our PieDuo, and then from here, I want you to do an 11, a crystal, an 11, and I want you to go into the PieDuo, the next one, so that you're going from the point down to the bottom. The last one we went up from the bottom to the point. From here, you're going to sew through the next 3 of your indigo colored beads and out. You're going to sew through your PieDuo then, from the bottom towards the top, pulling that in nice and tight there on the side. 11 crystal, then another 11-0, and then your next PieDuo. To do your next PieDuo, you're sewing from the top, from the pointed edge, down towards the crust there. Sew through the next 3 beads in line to create that little crystal arch, and back up through your PieDuo. You're going to continue that the whole way down on the right and the left side of the bracelet. Now you'll notice that first one is kind of hanging off to the side. That is fine, because we're going to go back and connect to that after we go in and have our extra little beads on there. Coming out the last of the design here, coming out the last of those PieDuos, we're coming out the top of the PieDuo, just like we would get ready to add our next little crystal in place. But instead on the right needle, I'm going to stick 2 of my bronze 11-0s, 1 of my blue, and 2 of my bronze, and I'm going to crisscross through those. So one needle is going to go through all of those right to left, and the other left to right. What this does is brings it up so that my quad bows are starting to come to, or sorry, my PieDuos are starting to come to the center of the design. After adding the seed beads and crisscrossing through, I'm picking up my first 6mm disco bead, and those are in the Smokey Topaz AB. I'm going to do the same thing, that I have one needle going through from the left to the right and the other right to left, which is going to crisscross through that bead. From here, you're going to sew through the first 11-0 next to the crystal on both the right with the right needle and the left with the left needle. Give it a nice tight pull to get that so that it's sitting nice and tightly against the design. We're going to continue folding up the PieDuos the whole way along the design. And between the crystals here, before we get to the next PieDuo, to add our 11-0s sitting right in the middle, we're going to create a crisscross. It's going to be 2 more 11-0s crisscrossing through one of our dark blue. So I'm doing 2 bronze, 1 of my dark blues, 2 bronze. On this side here, I'm going to do 2 bronze, crisscross through the 11 that's already there, so it's going to look like you're sewing back towards bead number 2. Do 2 more of your bronze, and then sew through the 11-0 on the other side of the crystal, both the right and the left. When you give a nice tight pull then, you get that X design there right along the edge. To sit in the middle between the PieDuos, again, crisscross through your 6mm bead. I'm going to go right to left and left to right. If you want to, you can even throw a little 15 on each of those threads before and after. Then coming through here, grab the next 11-0 on the right-hand side with the right thread. Next 11-0 with the left thread. Again, nice tight pull, folding your beads towards the center so that way those sit on the angle and nestle right around the sides of the 6mm beads. After the 6mm bead, go ahead and do your cross section, going and adding 2 11s in the bronze, cross through a blue, 2 more 11s in the bronze, and then connect to your next 11 after your rounded crystal. If you do happen to need to add thread to your project, you'll notice that I tied off the 2 knots when I went through one side of my disco ball. I didn't go through the other side, I tied those 2 together. I'm going back then to my last little X before and taking my needle and thread, one to the right, one to the left, separating them out, making sure that my new 4-foot piece of thread has enough beads on, and I'm going to go through the 11s, up through the 11 on the side, crisscross through the disco ball, and then I'm in position to carry on with the design. As you're doing this, you want to make sure to push those beads up towards the center, creating that nice channel of that reversible design where you have that X sitting beautifully on the top, and then you have those nice PieDuos on the side and the loops to the back. In Sheryl's original idea, she said she was going to do it also as an idea for a necklace with a piece of leather, like licorice leather or even just some rounded leather going through. It would be a wonderful, beautiful design for a necklace as well. When you get to the end of the design and adding in those beautiful X's, you can see how cool and 3-dimensional this works. And here's how it would look for a necklace. So just for that reference, if you do want to slide that leather in, I love the idea of it as a necklace in addition to the bracelet. Going in and making your last X, what you're going to do to bring that last PieDuo in place is sew through the 11-0 just like you've been doing. And then instead of right out of the 11-0, you're going to go through the PieDuo to the base of the pie. Go in then underneath the 3 seed beads, creating that little bit of a crust there. Go up through the PieDuo and out the top. What that does is that brings your thread and needle both to the top of the design, and what we're going to do is mimic the start. So with one of the thread and needles, right or left, doesn't matter, you're going to do 2 of your bronze, 1 of your indigo, 2 bronze, come down the design here to the bottom, crisscross through with a needle on the other side to close up the PieDuos. And once you crisscross through on the other side, same thing. Take your needle and thread to the base of the design. And now's your opportunity to reinforce that thread. So the nice thing is our knot is going to disappear really, really easily inside of that. If you want to, you can even do another little Xing effect going from the top to the bottom. I'm going right into my 11-0 seed beads. Going to take my needle and thread around this entire loop one more time. Bring the thread and needle back down through those 2 11s and simply tie the thread off to end your bracelet. You can see that lovely reversible design idea here that you can have the seed beads up, you can put it so that you have the crystals up, which is obviously my favorite, and how it lays beautifully on the wrist if you want that nice 3-dimensional shape that you're achieving with this beautiful Turkish Delight bracelet by Sheryl. Thanks so much for joining me in making this beautiful Turkish Delight kind of showstopper bracelet that's designed by Sheryl. As always, if you want to check out our new PieDuos or any of our new beads, you can click on the links below the video as well as the Shop Now button. Remember, if you haven't yet, click that subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. In the comments, remember to give a little chat and let people know what beads you're going to use, what color scheme, ideas or suggestions that you may have, or any questions that you'd like to ask Sheryl. Remember, give a little thumbs up to keep us designing, and hopefully this video worked to make you a better beader while working and learning about our new PieDuo beads. Thanks again to Sheryl, and enjoy your new Turkish Delights bracelet.